Today, we'll be taking a look at Yongary. This is the second entry into Titanic Creations' highly articulated kaiju action figure line. This figure was crowdfunded in early 2024, and it is now starting to arrive in customer hands. If you couldn't tell already, there is a lot that comes inside this package, so without further ado, let's take a look at Yongary. Yongary stands at 6.5 inches tall and 9.5 inches from the tip of the nose horn to the end of the tail. The figure was sculpted by the incredibly talented Dope Pope, and this is definitely the highlight of Yongary himself. The suit used in the 1967 Korean kaiju film has been meticulously recreated in action figure form. One aspect that amazes me is the lack of symmetry in the finer details, such as the scales. If you pay attention, you'll notice imperfections in Yongary's skin on one side that aren't present on the other. I can't imagine how much patience this requires, and I have a lot of appreciation for it. When it comes to the paint, there's only a handful of different colors to be found on the figure, which itself has been cast in a dark green plastic. There is a really nice shading on the teeth, horn, and claws of the figure. The eyes are painted well, due in some part to how large they are, I'm sure. The brown on the chest fades nicely into the rest of the body, and the center row of dorsal fins has a similar, if not identical, shade of brown applied. One of the things I really liked about the comic Gorgo release that I reviewed previously on this channel was the darker wash of color that brought out a lot of the details on the body. I do feel like I'm missing it here on Yongary, but the sculpted details in the scales help it with not feeling like one big piece of monocolor plastic. Now we'll break down the articulation. Yongary's head connects into the neck with a double barbell piece, giving him an okay range of up and down movement and side to side swivel. The jaw is on a hinge, with mine being a bit looser than I would like. The neck connects to the chest on a ball joint, but I'm unsure if it's a single or barbell joint. There is a limited amount of up and down movement, with just a touch more freedom moving side to side. The shoulders consist of a swivel hinge system that allows you to move the arm up into a T-pose. There is a bicep swivel and an elbow bend of about 90 degrees. At the wrist, we have revolver joints. If you watched my Gorgo review, you'll know that I really don't like revolver joints. I acknowledge that this is a me problem, call it a skill issue, whatever. I'm sure there are people that do like these joints, and I'm sure there's even a rationale for why these joints are superior to existing swivel hinge systems, but for me, I don't like revolver joints, but I'm not going to hold that against the figure itself. The chest connects to the lower torso on a double barbell joint, with the sculpt allowing for only a little bit of pivot and twist. The thighs connect in on double barbell joints and can rotate a full 360 degrees. There is a limited amount of in and out movement. The knees can bend about 45 degrees and rotate. The ankles are also on revolver joints. The tail is made up of 11 segments, and here I'll demonstrate its full range of motion. Unfortunately, the tail on mine is very loose. It will not hold any position in the upward direction. Now we'll get into accessories, of which Yongary has a lot. First is the flame breath coming in at about 3.5 inches long, which plugs directly into the port in Yongary's mouth. The effect is cast in translucent plastic that actually begins in purple at the peg, transitioning into a dark red, and then finally into a fiery orange. While it isn't the longest beam effect, being able to port it into the mouth without sagging or need for additional support is a nice trade-off. Next is the laser horn, measuring about 3 inches from the tip of the horn to the end of the laser. This piece is equipped by replacing Yongary's standard horn with a simple unplug. Be careful not to lose the standard horn, which is considerably small. The horn popped off while I was recording footage for this review, and it legitimately took me about 6 minutes to find it, so please do not lose that horn. The laser effect is cast in translucent orange, which fades to nearly clear toward the end. This piece is thin and subject to being warped, but is easily malleable with just a touch of heat. Now we'll take a look at 3 different vehicles that Yongary comes packaged with, starting with the helicopter used at the end of the film. This vehicle is cast in gray plastic with a smidge of red paint on both sides. There are some small subtle details in the sculpt that I'm sure a customizer would be able to bring out. The helicopter is 1.5 inches in length, and the blades do not rotate. Don't ask me how I know that. What does rotate is the turret on the 3 tanks included in the package. These are cast in dark green plastic with little white stars painted on both sides. The tanks are about 1 inch long, and the turrets will be stuck out of the package, but one good twist and crack will free them right up. The last vehicle in the set is the 3 jets, cast in the same gray plastic as the helicopter with painted cockpits and red accents painted on the wings. These are roughly the same length as the tank, about 1 inch. The helicopter and jets can be displayed in flight via flexible stands connected to the street segment included in the box. This is a 3.5-inch square platform and was designed to be modular and included in future releases so that you can slowly build out a city street. The bendy wires plug easily into both the street segment and the vehicles. Next, we'll take a look at the oil tankers included in the package, of which there are 3. These are cast in metallic silver plastic with small orange accents on both sides. The tankers are about 3 inches tall and 3 inches in diameter. The lids are removable, meaning that they can function as storage for any accessories you may have that may fit inside. I actually really like the oil tankers for some reason. They're just very satisfying to hold, and the functionality is great. At risk of butchering the pronunciation, the next accessory we'll look at is the Sungnaimon Gate. Definitely the most colorful piece in the package. This building is just over 6 inches wide, about 5 inches deep, and about 3 inches tall. There are 5 different colors applied to the gray plastic, capturing the grass on the lawn and the features of the structure itself. Finally, we get to the collapsible bridge, which consists of 5 separate pieces. The 3 supports are cast in a gray-beige plastic about 1.5 inches wide and 2 inches tall. The 2 bridge segments are cast in gray plastic with metallic silver paint along the top half of the structure. When it comes to the sculpt of the bridge segments, this is where it gets interesting. The 2 pieces actually have different sculpts. One features the 2 car lanes plus train tracks, but it appears that something was misaligned with the tooling on the second bridge piece, resulting in part of the train tracks being molded onto the car lane rather than the tracks. You might be curious as to how this could happen, like why not just print the first sculpt twice instead of 2 different sculpts? Sometimes you'll see manufacturers create 2 sets of tooling to speed up the process of getting these things made and printed, and it just appears that in this case, whenever they made the second one, there was just something wrong with it. The bridge segments also appear to have angled edges, which intuitively tells me that's where they're intended to meet in the fully assembled structure. However, if you try to do this, the sculpts actually collide and prevent a seamless connection. Thankfully, if you join them at the flat edges, they will sit flush together. Assembling the bridge is straightforward, but the pieces do not have any pegs or slots to help in holding it together. I would like to see this in future structures, but it also leads to a more satisfying smashing action during play. As an overall package, Yongary is a step up from the Gorgo figures that have come before it. The figure itself has a nice bulk to it, and while it doesn't move as much as other figures you may have in your collection, the incredible sculpt is well preserved. The sheer number of accessories is great, especially as they seem to be increasingly rare in the kaiju figure hobby. I feel obligated to mention that this is my second Titanic Creations figure, and both of them suffer from loose joints in key areas. I do have the Pulgazari figure on the way, and my third figure from this company, I guess, will determine in my mind whether this looseness is the rule or the exception. Now, this Yongary figure with all the accessories came out to about $100 plus shipping during the initial crowdfunding campaign. This figure is now sold out on Titanic Creations' website. However, if you looked at what they did with Gorgo, there was an eventual repaint that scaled back on the accessories and came at a reduced cost, the previous comic Gorgo being $60 as opposed to $100. I would not be surprised to see another Yongary in the future, again scaled back in accessories, some kind of variant, maybe a poster variant as an example. But if you were looking to pick up that original film accurate Yongary, you're gonna have to look at the aftermarket. That's gonna be it for me, but I am curious to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this Yongary figure? Did you pick it up? Do you hope to pick it up in the future? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye!